I just happened to notice that YouTube turns 15 today, so it was introduced on February 16, apparently 2005. I actually didn't use YouTube until almost 2 years into when it was introduced, if I remember my childhood correctly. But I thought I'd talk about how I first discovered YouTube. What had happened was that in 2007, I was talking to several of my classmates about how I had stopped drinking soda a number of years ago. So this would have been a little bit over 3 years since I had stopped drinking soda. I used to drink a lot of soda and I was very overweight. It's very hard to tell. It was very hard to tell back in 2007 when I was talking about all this to my classmates. And my classmate suggested that, well, I asked my classmate if they had ever seen a bottle of soda explode. And they hadn't, and they suggested that maybe I could look it up on YouTube. We were just talking about soda. I don't know how the discussion transferred into the idea of soda exploding. And I had never heard of YouTube until my classmate said it out loud. Why don't you look it up on YouTube? And I didn't know what he was talking about, so I went to Google to search what YouTube was. Funny thing is, Google didn't own YouTube at the time, but Google was how I first found YouTube, because my classmate said YouTube, and I was too embarrassed to admit to him that I hadn't been following up on the latest trends. So I found YouTube, and I typed in soda explosion, and those were literally the first two words I ever typed into YouTube. And I found this video that two kids had made. They were in a suburban home, and one kid was asking his friend, which explodes more? Is it Coke or 7-Up? And the kid shakes up a 7-Up. They're standing on the second floor of the house. It's like a typical one-family home, and they're in the second floor, and he's asking his friend, which explodes more, Coke or 7-Up? And this kid shakes a 7-Up bottle, and he throws it out the window onto the driveway below their window, and it fails to explode. The can, I think, dents a little bit. It didn't explode. And then he proceeds to shake up the Coke, and he throws it out in the driveway, and it explodes. And his friend was going, "You should have thrown the Coke first." And I don't think it would have mattered. I think it was just the coincidence, the angle that the sodas hit the driveway. I don't know if there's any literature about how high they're pressured up to. Judging from what I know about chemistry, I would imagine the less sugar there is dissolved in the beverage, the more carbon dioxide you can probably dissolve in solution. That's my guess. I've never actually tested it. And so it turns out the Coke exploded a little bit more. I think Coke and 7-Up have similar amounts of sugar. I've never noticed, like, wow, this soda has more calories than that. It has. If anything, they probably should have tried a regular versus a diet soda. I bet that would have had a considerable difference in terms of the amount of sugar. And then we watched a few videos about putting Mentos in soda. That was a big craze in the mid-2000s. It's not so popular anymore now that everybody knows about it. I've been waiting for somebody to try Mentos in soda in space. You know, step out of the ISS and put a. I don't know what happens if you open a bottle of soda in a vacuum. That probably wouldn't be too good. But I've been wanting to see something like that, to see if that bottle will race out into a higher orbit or something like that. Of course, these people are professionals. If they did it, they would probably not want to show who they are, which is probably impossible to do if there's only 6 people in space. So unfortunately, not yet. When we start to have more civilians traveling into space, somebody might try it. So Soda Explosion was the first video I ever watched. And then I started to, at the time, I used to have a big fear of flying. When I was not in ninth grade, I was going to college part-time as well, but I was 14 years old, and 9/11 had happened. I remember I was at the college campus when one of my professors came running out into the hallway. He happened to see me and my mom. My mom was at the campus that day because we were going to discuss something with financial aid, if I remember correctly. And my professor was saying, Did you hear 2 airplanes hit the World Trade Center?" And actually, the only reason I knew what the World Trade Center was because I used to love to watch a Discovery Channel show called FBI Files, where they investigate various high-profile FBI cases. And one of the cases they featured was when they had a truck bomb in 1992. And so that's the only reason I knew about the World Trade Center. And I thought, well, that must have been an accident, because I knew the World Trade Center was one of the tallest buildings in the world at the time. He said, no, 2 airplanes. There was a terrorist attack. And in my mind, I'm confusing the two. I thought he was talking about the earlier event. Maybe it was an anniversary or something. And he says, no, today. It took me about 2 minutes to process everything he was saying. But it left a big impression. So I didn't fly for a number of years. And around the same time, I had just gotten my driver's license, but unfortunately, I didn't have the time to really go travel. And I had befriended somebody on YouTube who was a truck driver, a long-haul truck driver, and he would record his routes throughout the country. And he used to drive a lot on the Rocky Mountains, and I would get very excited when he would take a trip like that, and I would watch it. And to me, it felt like a virtual vacation, because at the time, I didn't have my own car, didn't have a whole lot of time, and it was all good. And I recorded my first YouTube video, 2010, a little over 10 years now, about collecting coins. Unfortunately, I've since had to get rid of a lot of the coins, and I have other hobbies going on at the moment. So, but it was nice to connect with a lot of people here on YouTube about such. I've since expanded my channel quite a bit away from the coins, right? I've done all sorts of travel-related videos. I've talked about various life hacks, just like the last couple of days. I've competed in holding my breath while saying something over and over and over again. It's just lots of fun stuff. So it's all good. I've made a lot of friends. One of the reasons, I talked about this a few videos ago, but one of the reasons I love talking on YouTube is that even though I get to actually talk and pretend that I'm talking to somebody, not everything I say I actually put onto YouTube. So I get a lot of practice before somebody gets to see what I'm talking about. So that's good. I'm sure a lot of the videos I watched, they would never have been that way in real life, because they were probably the 7th take that I watched, and the first 6 were just total flops, and I would have never known that. So that's good too. But it's good practice for when I do go out and say more or less the same things, except I have to do it on a first take. Thanks for watching.